All right, well, welcome again, and welcome to those joining us online. We're continuing our series, Weak or Wise, and we're talking about some decisions we make. Some people might say they're weak, but we see in the Bible that's really wise decisions, and we're talking all about our choices. As we are in this new year, we want to make the most of this new year, and choices really play into that. Our choices shape our life and our relationships, and so we want to make wise choices. And so we've been talking about how can I make wise choices with our money. We talked about that one week, because if we make foolish choices with our money, that can be significant consequences. So we talked about some ways we can manage our money well and make good decisions with our money. We talked about parenting. How can I make wise decisions as a parent, and how can I help my kids grow up to make wise decisions? Last week we talked about our marriages, how we can pick someone to, as we're dating or maybe think about getting married, we want to pick someone, we want to make wise decisions in that, and also make wise choices in our marriage to support and build up our partner in that. We talked about how humility affects our choices, and all began just the first week of the series. We were looking to God because He is our source of wisdom. We can ask Him for wisdom. He is the designer of life. He created it all, so He knows what's best for us. So we want to grow in our relationship with Him and to seek Him for His wisdom so He can guide us in life. And so if you missed any of those weeks, I always encourage you to check out, you can go to our website or our YouTube channel. You can follow up with some of those. You can review them, you can share them, whatever you need to do with that. And so we'll be continuing the series again today about wise choices. And before we jump into that, we've been looking through the book of Proverbs and throughout this series because it's part of the wisdom literature of the Bible, and there's just a lot of great insight in there. And I always want to encourage you to check out the YouVersion Bible app. I had someone message me this week and just say, I'm so glad you recommended this, how it's been a really impactful thing in their life, just to be in God's Word consistently so we can know His way, so He can guide us. And so I encourage you to check it out. You can follow us in there. We're doing we do different things. When you follow us, there's featured reading plans, and so we've been doing one through Proverbs right now. I know I wrapped that up this week, and a few others have as well. And so you can always jump into that at any time, and there's also some directions on the screen if you want to follow along today with some of the verses and thoughts for today, too. You can take notes on there and all kinds of cool stuff, so you might want to check that out as well. But we're continuing the series, but before we jump in, it is Super Bowl Sunday. We've been talking about that a little bit already. And, tonight we're going to see two teams get out there and gruel it out and fight together to try to win the championship. And I know we might not be as excited about some of those teams as what we would if the Lions were in there. But we're going to see these two teams, and they're two decorated franchises. The Kansas City Chiefs has been there multiple times in recent years, and the 49ers have a rich history of that. And they really do well as a team. A team is an NFL team that consists of over 50 players. You have your coaching staff and staff. There's a lot of people and they're going to come tonight, and they're going to know the game plan. They're going to be calling plays in the huddle so everyone's on the same page. They're going to gut it out together, and they are going to either win or lose as a team. Football, probably more than any other sport, is really focused on the team. Even if you have one all-star sense in other sports, they can really dominate things. In football, it's such a team sport. It really takes the team to make it all happen. And I saw some interesting things this week because, a lot of people have been complaining about Dan Campbell. I think more people have been complaining about him, the Lions coach, around the nation than they have than people in Michigan, because we know how bad they were, and at least he got us that far, so we're happy with him still. But I saw something interesting. Penei Sewell is one of the guys that was in the Pro Bowl from the Lions, and a lot of people were bashing Dan Campbell, and he said, you know what? But he's my man. We're a team. We're in this together. If he says jump off a cliff with him, I'm going to do that because we're a team. And it might be literal because they are kind of crazy over there. But they're in it together. And he was like, I have his back, and we're in it together. I saw an interview with Calvin Johnson, who is a retired Detroit Lion, a couple weeks ago when he's at the game, and they were talking hey, you look like you're in shape, you can get out there and play. He's like, no. And they were talking what do you miss about the game? And he was saying, I don't miss being in the game so much as being in the locker room and being around the guys and the team. I've heard a lot of retired players say the same thing. And I don't know if you've ever been on a team before. Maybe you played sports growing up. Maybe you're in school and you're on a team. Maybe you still play in a rec league or something. Maybe you were in choir or band. You get that kind of sense too. When you're part of a team, it really is a special thing. And I think sports amplify that a little more than other things because you have to face adversity together. And as you're going through the game, you have people cheering for you on your team, encouraging you. You have times when you fall, they pick you up, and there really is something special about being on a team. And, as we go through the game of life, wouldn't it be great to have a team like that, though? A team, some people around you that can be when you do something great, they're there to celebrate with you. When you're maybe struggling, they're there to cheer you on. When you fall down, they're there to pick you up. Just to go through life knowing that you don't have to do it all alone, that you have someone on your side fighting this battle with you. Like, wouldn't it be great to have a team around you like that? We're really designed to be in relationships. As God created us, we're designed to be in relationships. And some people would say, if you need people around you, that's weak. Just be strong enough. Just do it on your own. I find that most people that say stuff like that, it usually comes from a place where maybe they've been hurt or burned by a friend in the past, and they're just trying to tough it out with themselves because they feel like they can't trust someone else. But really, it's not wise to face life alone, because we're designed to be in relationships, to have friendships where we can support each other. That's how God created us. And what we're seeing right now in our world is really the exact opposite of that. I've been reading some reports, seeing some different news about a loneliness epidemic that has really settled in America and across the globe. And they were talking about how our involvement with other people has drastically decreased over the last 2 decades, where people just don't have the same amount of interaction with other people, that we've kind of been sheltering ourselves in our homes, especially since COVID. And the effects of the loneliness epidemic are significant. There was something released by the U.S. Surgeon General's office that were comparing loneliness to smoking 15 cigarettes a day, how it can affect our health in such a way where it can increase risk of heart disease, of stroke, or dementia. Like, it affects us in such a deeper level because we're designed to be in relationships. And really, this has been different articles I've seen, affects across all age groups, but when it comes to teens, even more so. I saw a report talking about young people from age 15 to 24, how their social interaction has decreased over the past 2 decades by 70%, and how most of their interaction happens online, but it just leaves them stuck in this loneliness. I don't know if you noticed that, like counseling offices are just booked out. This epidemic is really, I know it's happening even in West Michigan as I talk to people. I've seen it happening in the lives of friends and family, and I've seen some other things that they talk about how part of the effects of it was there's this decrease of involvement in things. Like, people used to go to play on rec leagues or go to the gym, and what we see is that's on the decline. And we've seen even things from the rec leagues all the way to really church involvement, where church involvement continues to be on the decline. School sports on the decline. School activities on the decline. People just aren't involved in organizations like they used to be. And all that leads to less social interaction and just builds up this loneliness epidemic. I've heard a lot of buzz about this idea of a third place recently, too. I don't know if you've heard about that. They would talk about how people used to have a third place. Like, you used to have your house as one place, you go to work as this other place. Those are like common places we all go to and have. And then a lot of people would have a third place. It might be the neighborhood bar, it might be that rec league, it might be church, it might be something else. But it was another place you could go to because sometimes work is stressful, and sometimes home is stressful, and sometimes we need a space away from both of those things. Or sometimes you don't like the people you work with, and so you need like some other friends to be able to develop, and you need that third place. And so there's a lot of talk of how we just don't have those third places. They're just not as common anymore or as easily accessible, and people just are limiting their involvement in things, and they don't have that third place. In fact, some people only have one place. It's like, if you work remotely, you're at home, and then you get out of your bed, and then you go to your office, and you are still at home in your office, and then you have your one place, and you're always around the same people, or you're there alone. And this adds to this loneliness epidemic. There's an interesting verse in Ecclesiastes in the Bible, and it talks about kind of battling the warriors. And they're saying, if you're fighting by yourself, it says you're easily defeated. If you're with someone else, at least you can fight back to back. But then it says, a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. If you think of a rope, there's all these strands that make up the rope. And this is saying if there's one strand, that rope is easily broken. If there's 2 strands, again, it can break. But a cord of 3 strands, that gives you the strength that can hold the weight. And to think of our lives in the same sense. As we face the adversity or the stress of life, if we're by ourselves, we're easily defeated. We can end up feeling defeated in life because life is challenging. And if we're doing it by ourselves, that doesn't make us stronger than other people. It actually makes us weaker. The wise thing to do is to connect our life with other people because that gives us the strength to face the hardships of life. I've heard some other people take biblical concepts and kind of twist it into this kind of picture of like saying like maybe the one strand is you, the second strand is your friends, the third strand would be God. And like those are the things that really give us the strength to face the adversity of life. And we really see this concept all throughout Proverbs too, about how we need these friends in our life. Look at these verses with me. Again, we've been looking in Proverbs throughout this whole series. It's wisdom literature, gives us wisdom for our lives. Proverbs 17:17 says this, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born in times of adversity. Like if you want a real friend, they're born out of this times when we have to face hardships in life, adverse times. It forms this bond like a brother, like it's like thicker than blood when you have a friend like that. You know, a real friend loves at all times, not just a friend who's there when because you're having a good time, but someone who is there for you when things aren't going well or when maybe you're not around as much. Not just a drinking buddy who's there to kind of escape the world, but a real friend who's there to support and build you up. That's what a real friend is. We see something similar in Proverbs 18. It says, one who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there's a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Again, we see this. A real friend is like thicker than blood. A real friend is there for you. If we are facing life and we don't have unreliable friends or friends we can't really count on, again, we're going to feel defeated. Our life can end up in ruin because we can't do it by ourselves. We need other people in our lives. That's when we can have the real strength. Trying to do it by yourself might seem like it's a strong thing, but it's really the weak thing. The wise thing is to have people around us to support you, to build you up. So I want you to start thinking about your friends. What kind of friends do you have in your life? Do you have friends, maybe they've been friends for a long time? Maybe you're still friends with people from high school, or maybe you're in high school right now and you have your group of friends that you've been friends with since middle school or whatever. Like, who are the friends in your life? Are they the type of friends that support you and build you up? Do you have any friends like that? You know, we're going to have maybe a lot of different people in our life that are friends. Some might end up being like more like acquaintances. We're going to have people that we just hang out with sometimes. We're going to have people that we are in proximity to, whether at work or in our neighborhoods. And they might be friends. And maybe you'd be good friends, maybe you won't. But the point is, do you have any friends in your life that can build you up, that can support you when life gets hard? Someone who's willing to stand back to back with you, to be in the trenches, like a team of people there to pick each other up. Do you have any friends like that? Those friendships aren't easily made. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe you're thinking right now, I really don't have friends like that. The hard thing is this. If we want to have friends like that, we probably have to be a friend like that first. You know, maybe you're at work and your work friends, all you ever talk about is like the game, the weather, what was on TV that you were watching. Maybe that's all you talk about. You know, we have to get past those superficial things and maybe be willing to put ourselves out there and say, hey, I noticed maybe you're having a rough day. Are you okay? Is there any way I can support you? Like, be willing to take a step out and look beyond the surface and be there for someone else. Or maybe just to ask someone, hey, how you been doing? Or is there any way that I could pray for you or something like that? Like, if you were willing to ask someone like that, you'd be surprised. Like, I've asked people that before. People are always willing to share. Yeah, you know what? I could use that. We have to be the type of friend that we want. Not always easy. So I know there's some people that are like introverts and they're doing this right now, like, nope, not going to do that. I'm going to stay in my Michael shell because that's just easy. And, you know, this doesn't have to be, this is not saying you have to have like all of your friends you do that. You just need to be going around and talking to everyone on the street. But can you find someone where maybe you can be a good friend to them so they can return that favor to you? See, this is the whole idea is a reciprocating relationship where you help and support someone and they help and support you. You know, some people would think, I need to have a lifelong friend to do that, but you'd be surprised. Those relationships can form actually really quickly if we're willing to share some kindness with someone and to maybe take that first step. We all need friends like that. It talks about this again throughout Proverbs. We see it again. Proverbs 27 says this, wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. So it says, like, there's people out there, they might seem like your friend. They're always willing to hang out or go do something, come to your Super Bowl party and eat all your food. They're always willing to do stuff like that. But are they there to support you? This says a real friend is someone who can be trusted, even trusted so much so that they can share maybe a hard truth with us. Like, do you have any friends like that? A friend that's like, hey, your tag's sticking out of your shirt. You need to tuck that in. Or hey, you got some spinach in your teeth. Like, do you have a friend like that? Because I know I've gone through like a whole day, and I come home and be like, oh, my word, I've had this. Like, why didn't they say anything to me? Like, they're not even my real friend. I had the spinach in my teeth the whole day. Or, even more so, like a real friend who is like, hey, you know what? You probably should take a few minutes. I know you're angry about this situation right now. Take a few minutes and calm down before you do something. Or someone who can say, you know what? You were talking about doing this, and I'm not sure if that's a good idea. That's not a good choice to make. Or someone is said, like, you know what? You might want to go apologize to that person. Like, do you have a friend like that who you trust enough to say something hard to you? Like, that's a real friend. That takes trust. And sometimes the hard thing about friendship is that maybe you've been burned in the past with someone. Because in order to get trust from someone, we oftentimes have to give it. And it's vulnerable, yes, I know. But if we can find a real friend out of that, it's worth that. It's worth it. One of my favorite verses in Proverbs about friendship is this one, Proverbs 13:20. It says, walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. Who are your friends in your life? Are they fools or are they wise? I think this is really interesting because I think this is a big truth that we see in there. And it talks about a companion of fools suffers harms. It doesn't say that you even need to make foolish choices to be harmed. If you are just in proximity, if you can have like the consequences of being in the group of fools, even though you don't do something foolish, you can reap the bad benefits of that just because you're a friend with them. Like, what kind of friends do you have? Wise friends? Foolish friends. If you are in like middle school, high school, college, maybe your parents talk to you all the time about your friends because this is what they don't want for you to happen, to suffer harm from hanging out with the wrong people. As you're going through these stages of life, I think this is such important because you're going through these different stages from middle school to high school to college, and you're gaining new freedoms, and you're figuring out life for yourself, and you start to begin to be influenced more by your friends than your parents. And this is why it's so important to pick good friends, because this is why they talk to you about it sometimes, because your friends figure into the focus of your life. Your friends dictate for the direction that you're going. They have a huge influence on them. That's why we have good friends. I remember my mom talking to me about like friends I had in high school, like, they're probably not that good to hang out with. I'd be like, don't worry about it, Mom. Like, they're fine. They weren't. They were bad news and whatever, but... there's some other friends who like, this would be a good friend, and she didn't know all the bad stuff they were doing either, so I couldn't really trust her opinion on it, but I just remember talking to me about that a lot, and that is true. I remember, like, even just recently meeting a person in my neighborhood, and like he was talking about, he used to be in the military, and he worked for these 3 different departments, and he was talking about how he would pretend to be working for another department, and he's basically just not working all day and getting away with it by saying he's working for the other department, and he thought that was so cool, and I thought the whole time, that's foolish. What a fool. And I thought, like, I'll be friendly with him, maybe look to share some hope with him and things like that, but I'm not going to be a good friend with this guy because he's not going the right direction. Like, we got to have friends in our life who are walking in ways of wisdom. Like people that, we don't want to be in a friend group where we're always pulling up the people in our life. Like, we're always trying to make the best out of the situation. Like, they're always struggling, and we're always pulling them up, or they're making bad decisions, and it's like we are always ones patching up it. Like, we can still be friends with those people, but we got to have some people in our life, too, that are making wise choices, people that we can look up to, people that are going in the right direction. Because if we want to make wise choices, we got to walk with wise people. I've heard some people say this, show me your 5 friends, and I'll show you your future. Show me your 5 friends, I'll show you your future. Like, where are they going in their life? This doesn't just apply to high school or middle school. This is for all of us. Like, show me the people you hang out with and your friends, the people you spend time with. What does their life look like? Where's their life heading? Because yours is probably heading the same way. Because if you walk with wise, you'll be wise. But if you are in the company of fools, you're going to suffer the harm. What does that mean? That means, like, If you are at work, like who are your work friends? Are you hanging around with all the people who always just complain about work, complain about the boss, the people who are like hate to be there and they always are just like, I can't wait to punch out. They're always, maybe they're giving like, they're doing the work, but they're not really giving their all. Is that the people you are your work friends? If so, don't expect a promotion because they're not going to get it. They're not doing their best. They're not going to push you to excel. Like, who are the ladies you hang out with? Like, maybe you're married. Do you hang out with a bunch of ladies and all they ever do is complain about all the dumb things their husbands do? Is that who you are? Like, we do a lot of dumb things. I understand that. But if you're just around like a bunch of ladies, that's all they're doing, what's that going to make you do? It's going to make you see all the dumb things your husband does instead of all the good things that he does, because we do good stuff too. Because your friends figure into your focus. I remember doing some counseling for this one couple, and they were trying to make their marriage work. They were having a hard time in their marriage, but instead of trying to make the marriage work, the lady was just going to bail on it because all of her friends were divorced, and their answer was, when it gets hard, just bail. And she listened to her friends, where it really wasn't that bad. She could have saved her marriage and kept the family together if she was willing to work it out. But all of her friends said, just bail, and that's what she did. Because our friends figure into our focus. Show me your good friends, I'll show you your future. Who are the friends in your life? Do you have wise people that you're looking up to? People that are going in a good direction. We got to have people like that. This is why I believe church should be like a third place for you. Because this is a chance to come here every Sunday, to be among friends, and to be in a place where it's encouraging, to be in a place where people invest in you. Like we have people like the band people, they show up every week. They practice during the week. They put in a lot of hours to make this an opportunity for you to connect with God. We have people that will take your kids. Like where does that happen? For free. You can just leave them down there. And it's like safe and it's like good. And they won't just watch them. They'll actually like invest in your kids. During the week, they prepare and they talk about things like kindness. They talk about our faith. They talk about how we can make good decisions. They're investing in your kid for free. Like, you don't get that anywhere else. Where are you going to get that? But this is why it's so important. And we have hosts and greeters and cafe people to make this a welcoming, so when you feel you come in, that you know you belong here, because you do, no matter who you are, what you've done. Now, this is a place to come and be among friends. And so if you come, keep coming. Like, just keep showing up, because you get a chance to be amongst friends. And if you're watching online today too, like, I'm glad you're watching online, because you can connect with God. You can learn some wisdom. But if that's all you do, you're missing out on the opportunity to build a relationship with someone else who can be a supportive friend to you, to have a real relationship for someone who can be connected in your life and build up your life. You're missing that if you're just watching online. Like, it's great you are, but you're missing that. And if you're willing to take maybe a step further, like we have volunteer teams and network teams. We call those teams on purpose because it's supposed to be we're in the trenches together, that we're picking each other up when we're down, that we're being part of something bigger than ourselves, that it's a team of people where you can do something purposeful and meaningful, and you have the opportunity to be in closer realms with people to build these lasting, real friendships of support. That's what we do. That's why it's so important. And what that means is we might need to take another step. Maybe take a step to be a better friend to some people. Maybe take a step to be in an environment where we can find a good friend. But this is why we do what we do. It's so important. It can be that third place for you. So as we're thinking about our friends this morning, it really comes down to these questions. We all need real friends. I mean, that's wise to have real friends in our life, good friends. Do you have friends that build you up? I want you to think of your friends. What does that mean? It might mean you have some toxic people that you need to cut out of your life. It might mean that you don't have to cut these other people out, but they're really not building you up. They're just friends. They're just okay friends. It might mean I need to pursue some other people to develop these real relationships, some wise friends in my life. What does that mean for you, though, too? What kind of friend are you? Are you a friend who's I'm just going to keep it on the surface and always just have a good time? Or are you willing to maybe take a step into someone else's life to be a good friend? Are you willing to make yourself vulnerable? It doesn't have to be big vulnerable at first. It can just be a chance to say, hey, I'm going to take this step, even though it's uncomfortable to say, like, how are you doing today? To ask them maybe something personal about their life. To maybe say something that should have been said a long time ago. That's what a real friend does. Are you willing to take that step for yourself? I'm going to ask you just to close your eyes with me to wrap this up. Just think for yourself those two questions. Who are the friends in my life? Do I have friends that will build me up? What kind of friend am I? Whatever your response is, maybe just seek God in this moment. Pray quietly. He hears our prayers. Maybe it's, God, I need some real friends in my life. Will you show them? Will you bring me opportunities to develop these? Maybe it's, God, I need to take a step to start building these relationships. I need to maybe put myself out there a little bit to develop these friendships. Whatever your response is, just pray. He hears our prayers. Lord God, as we pray to you, we just say thank you so much for being a good friend to us. Like, what a better friend could we have than you? A friend who's always there for us, a friend who loves us unconditionally, a friend who picks us up when we're down, a friend who always wants to make us at our best, a friend who has our best interests. What a friend you are, God. And as we think about just the other friendships that we interact with in life, we're asking you to give us some wisdom when it comes to our friends. Maybe bring some wise friends into our life. Maybe give us the courage, God, to take that first step, to start to develop a real friendship. To maybe have the courage to take another step here at church, to be part of a team. God, we're asking you for this insight and this wisdom, because you are the source of all wisdom, God. In our friendships, may we have wise friends, and may we be wise and be a good influence on our friends. Help us to evaluate that clearly, God. Be with us this week ahead. Pray in your name. Amen.